me on. And for all of you that are up at this late hour, make sure to tune in tomorrow, which is a Wednesday. And we'll probably have shows throughout the week. We should previewing this NFL Wild Card edition of the National Football League. So make sure to tune in. I'll have you on. I'm sure Robert will be joining us as well. Robert, thanks for having me on. We'll see you later. We'll be very familiar with each other after this week, I'm sure.
Always a pleasure, Nick. And that was Nick Rice, our famous NFL analyst. All right, Steven, we have to go to a magical season that happened at Oracle Arena, where the Warriors did not have. No one thought that they would have chances of making the playoffs whatsoever. A team that traded Monte Ellis got Andrew Bogut. And, wow, this season came upon. And you look at Klay Thompson that really developed. They had Harrison Barnes that year. You look at a season that, you look at the individual game highlights. Steph Curry had the most points in a game that season. 54 points against the New York Knicks. And you have the 3-point field goals. He had 11 for the Golden State Warriors. And you also look at David Lee, who had the most double-doubles in the season. He had 56 double-doubles, a team that that beat the Denver Nuggets 4-2 in upset, and then they lose to the San Antonio Spurs. Now, Steven, that was a magical season for me. You look back at it, you look at Steph Curry, you look how much he developed. Looked at how Andrew Bogut came back from an injury for the playoff run, and he made a huge impact as well. David Lee was always been consistent all season long. You look at Steph Curry, who's been consistent. Harrison Barnes, who came up as a rookie. You had Carl Landry, you had Jarrett Jack. You had Festus Ezeli, you had Draymond Green. And, wow, I just named all those guys, and there was a lot of rookies during that season, some sophomores. And, now you look at the Warriors and they don't have Jarrett Jack or Carl Landry. They got some new guys. But, Steven, let's go back to that playoff run along again this year. And, Steven, what did you think of that playoff run?
I was very reminiscent of the 2007 playoff run and the Warriors upsetting the Mavericks in the one seed in the Western Conference that year. And it's very magical, playing against a very good team, beating the other guys throughout the entire series, and picking three guys that we're going to deliver. I had high expectations for Harrison Barnes. Watching him in college at North Carolina, what he could do was very special for the Warriors. That he really did. He really stepped up to that 12-point spot. I actually, at the end of 2011-2012 season, before the draft and when she was in, I was wondering, hey, what should be going on? There's a problem with small forward. If you throw them up bold, and they're looking pretty good, and that's what they did. They got Harrison Barnes in the first round. Adrian, he's valuable, very valuable, as a very consistent small forward. And then Jarrett Jack and Carl Landry, those three guys, huge contributors with the bench. Did a lot for us. And then David Lee, he was injured in the first series against the Nuggets. He had a hip injury. Being in there against the Spurs at home, that brought some motivation to his team. And that's the reason why the Warriors got as far as they did against the Spurs. And they'll be lost in the conference finals. That's all right, but now this year, the expectations of going to a few different levels.
In this season, I look at it, and you had pretty much two six-men that's come off that bench. You had Jarrett Jack and Carl Landry. You had one up top and down low, and I think that's what really worked out for the Warriors. They got two guys that were very strong. Now you both lose him. Jack goes to the Cavaliers. It hasn't really made I believe, not much of a big impact as I thought he would there. And then you look at Carl Landry, who's playing for the Kings. He's made sort of an impact there. But, you lose them, unfortunately. You get Tony Douglas, Spates, you get Jermaine O'Neal, and you get all these new guys. And the Warriors now, I look at it and I say that they're not what they used to be, but they're on a 5-game winning streak right now, and they're 7th in the Western Conference. And I'm still happy with them. They were in the 6th and 7th spot when they were about to make the playoffs. This team is still a playoff team. I still believe that. They just gotta show it to me. They're still got more time in the season to come. But I look at right now, Steph Curry's been playing well. David Lee's been playing well. The addition with Andre Iguodala was the biggest. Was the biggest acquisition for the Warriors. And I was happy about that because you get Andre Iguodala as a small forward, but you also get a head scratcher because you had Harrison Barnes, who now has to come off the bench, who's been reliable on that bench, which has been good. He's been probably one of the only most reliable people on that bench. But you see Tony Douglas, you see Jermaine O'Neal, you see them kind of have some big games here and there. But I think when Jermaine O'Neal comes back from that injury, I think he's going to be getting some bigger games. But they got to get Festus Ezeli back. And Draymond Green's been, the only thing about Draymond Green is I'm worried about is he's inconsistent. But, that bench just needs to come alive. And, Steven, you compare how do you compare the bench from last season to this season?
It's very different, and I think the Warriors, the front office definitely downgraded. Thinking about your that would cost us some money, but, there's a following, Gabe O'Neal, that would seem like he's not injured, he's been out for a while. The bench has does not have a lot of depth, really. With Harrison Barnes being the only, true bench player on that team, Derek Jackson probably injuries, those were two six-man possible starters for any NBA team, on the bench, so it's not huge for us. We also have Draymond Green, who's pretty good, but he can be inconsistent, even on fire for a week, or even being the coldest shooter in the NBA. He really wants to excel from him on a game-to-game basis. 10 baseball is a defensive player only, so I can't really trust him on, doing big offense plays. He's more of a defensive reliability than defensive specialist. And after that, what he's fight, not very impressive. Another point guard, he's a zero guy, European point guard. I don't even know these guys. There's a difference between Alex when he wants to get closer to $1. And most of the guys with guys like Richard Jefferson, Andres Adrian, and there's one more guy, small forward, Brandon Rush. There you go. And we've seen Alfred, and I don't even know some of the guys. He's trying to perform it. He downgraded. Andres Adrian, reliable from the time. Richard Jefferson was kind of a player coach. And Brandon Rush didn't really show himself. He tore his ACL. For the end of the year, so everything went downhill with him. But the Warriors are doing okay. But after pointing out the Pacific Division is doing very competitive. You have the Clippers, you have the Warriors. This year, surprisingly, they might be a terrific start to the year. There's 6 points in the Western Conference. So, think about it. If Lincoln's team having the toughest year into the All-Star break, we're just bound to possibly get, 6, 5, 6, 7 spot in the West Conference.
And, you talk about Beatrice, Jefferson, and Rush. And Rush, he just had the injury issues. I thought he would have been a really good player for the Warriors, if he didn't have the injury. I felt bad for that guy because I think he would have really contributed off the bench. Beatrice, his time was done there. He was part of the We Believe season. And, that was the last time they made a run in the playoffs, was 2006. And that was a good year. And, unfortunately it ended early. But, they had the big moves, and I look at it, and, I think Beatrice has been too old. He was a veteran on that team. He's been in the playoffs, and he had the experience. And I also get Jefferson. Jefferson came from the Spurs, who was pretty good. I remember him having some really good seasons for the Spurs. He comes to our team. He comes to the Warriors and doesn't do very well, so we just had to get rid of him. And he goes to the Jazz. So I look at some moves, and I like some of their moves this year. I see that Andre Iguodala, they really needed some other big player to really help out the team because he talked to a lot of people and said if the Warriors had one more guy, they had one more big guy to make a difference on that team, I think that this would be a solid team. But I think they could have made an effort to either keep Jack or Landry on that team. I think that was one thing the Warriors should have done. But it happens, and they try to help out with the new bench. But I mean, right now, as long as they can make the playoffs, they can have everyone healthy on that bench. I think the Warriors will be ready to go. And Steven, let's go to your final thoughts on the Warriors playoff run and now this Warriors season.
First off, last season, I feel like what we do when the 7:30 became the only shooter that you could be, the potential more shown last year. I feel like this team is very good, but sometimes when he has that injury to his ankle, has been bothered by his career. That'll be the problem. That's the long-term aspect that I'm really looking at. How's my ankle going to hold up in the next 5 years as he becomes more valuable to the Warriors organization as a franchise player? The only bit of the playoffs is incredible. And now going to this season as a team overall, that shows some work. How get some guys, get some guys in free agency market, maybe trade for some guys that can upgrade the bench. But right now, Franklin is very good. Averaging on green hair is fun. After that is over anything else. And that's the difference between the Warriors and last season, the Warriors this season is that you have guys on the bench that filled in the spot very well for the starters. And we don't have it this year, and that's also negative. And maybe one of the reasons why the Warriors are at the part of the year right now, they're 23-19, I'm thinking, or 22-19, and they could be 22 and 13 or 22 or 15 right now if they made one or two better free agent moves than getting guys I never heard of before.
I agree with you, Steven. I mean, the guys that were never talked to, but we never heard of before was not the greatest move. But I heard Tony Douglas, he wasn't more of one of the greatest players on the Rockets. But I mean, I look at last season's, the playoff run, and I liked enjoying them. I liked how Steph Curry brought a lot of momentum to the game. David Lee did well, and then Andrew Bogut, he still had an injury, so he still had to rest it out. But I mean, David Lee was hurt during the playoff run, and that really did hurt the Warriors. And I think that's what really killed them during the playoffs. I think you got to have everyone healthy. And yeah, David Lee and Andrew Bogut had them ready and to go and more healthy. I think this team would have had a better playoff push. But I like the playoff push for the Warriors. I hope that they continue it for this season. And this season, I think that they're going to make the playoffs. I think they'll get maybe a 5th, 6th, or 7th seed in the Western Conference. So I'm still hoping for that. And we're going to take a quick break here. But when we come back, we'll be going to the Giants, A's, and the Sharks when we get back. This is Deits and Stevens All Out Sports Show here on Spreaker.com for the year in review.
Your presentation of the Deits and Stevens All Out Sports Talk will continue right after this. But during the commercial break, head over to the Facebook page and like it for daily updates in Bay Area sports. Your show will be right back in 30 seconds.
Looking for a better way to get up out of bed instead of getting on the internet and checking a new hit. Get up, first shot, come strut walking. A little bit of humble, a little bit of cautious. Somewhere between like Rocky and Cosby's for the game. Nope, y'all can't copy yet.
Hello and welcome back to Deits and Stevens